Welcome back to the YouthRise Podcast, a platform dedicated to empowering youth voices through diverse topics of passion. I'm your host, Queeny Gong, and before I introduce our guest today, I just want to say that we are back to our weekly uploads after a lengthy break, and we hope that everyone enjoys what we have in store for future episodes. Moving on to today, I'm thrilled to introduce Sophie Chen, a senior at Sentinel Secondary School and currently enrolled in the Advanced Placement Program. Join us as we explore Sophie's journey in balancing a rigorous academic workload and her athletic background. We'll dive into her passion for soccer, the challenges she's faced with motivation, and tips she has for those who also struggle with time management. Don't miss this inspiring conversation. I'm super excited to have Sophie here with me today, but before we begin, can you please just give a short introduction to all the listeners at home? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, BC, and I'm a grade 12 high school student.
Nice. So today our topic is going to be about balancing academics and athletics. So just to give a little bit of background, Sophie, what sport do you play?
So I play soccer at North Shore Girls Soccer Club, and yeah.
Okay, so what inspired you to pursue athletics? Were you in it like from a very young age, like your parents brought you in it, or you just wanted to play soccer?
Yeah, I have been playing soccer since I was 5 years old, and the reason I started playing was because my brother played it from a young age, and my dad did as well, so I was kind of born into the tradition, but I didn't realize that I would be going for so long, so yeah.
Yeah, so where are you now for soccer?
I currently play like Metro level, which is like a level down from BCSPCL, and I wanted to pursue it in college, but I'm still in the recruiting process right now.
Yeah, I think like the recruiting process is very well known amongst all athletes, and like I think just the fact of balancing athletics with just high school life is also pretty hard amongst many individuals. So do you want to share how you kind of manage your time effectively between your academics as well as your athletics?
I think it's really important to find a balance between athletics and academics, especially if you have like different pressures coming towards you, like the pressure to perform and also the pressure from like good academic grades. I personally found that it was better for me to work on like academics and schoolwork in the mornings, whereas because I had lots of practices and extracurriculars at night and not usually in the mornings. So usually to get my homework done or to study for tests, I wake up quite early in the morning before school just to study and get some review in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a very different lifestyle for many people. For me, like I think I work better at night because I have a hard time waking up in the morning, but I think it's a much healthier lifestyle if you're able to wake up earlier. So have you faced any significant challenges in balancing these two? Like how, and if so, how do you overcome these challenges?
I think it's important to know like when to sacrifice things and when to prioritize things. Obviously, if you have like provincials coming up, or if you have a really important game coming up, you should be going to practices every day and you should be working hard on your sport. Whereas if it's finals season, like it's okay to miss a couple practices, or it's okay to miss lift once in a while just because you are studying and you have to keep up both your grades and your academic and your athletic performance.
Yeah, definitely. I also believe in that as well. I think I also learned that along my athletic journey, just knowing that like I have to prioritize academics later on in my high school career. But you talked a lot about like the pressure that you have from external like people or things that around you that you want to perform really well in both academics and athletics. So how do you stay motivated and avoid burnout when things start to get very overwhelming for you?
So burnout is tough to avoid when you have so much going on, but I think it's important just to like keep switching what you're doing. It's not good just to study for 24 hours a day or just to play your sport for 24 hours a day. Like to avoid burnout, you have to have a variety of different things, even if that means like socializing with your friends and not necessarily being quote unquote productive. keeping that variety in life just helps you have short bursts of serotonin and happiness to keep yourself going on like harder circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have any pre-game or pre-exam rituals that you want to share that help you kind of stay focused and confident?
So I think I'm a very like ritual type of person. Like I'm not in a cult or anything, but
Okay.
I just like I really like following a routine. So before games, every single game, I always put on my left sock. I always tape my left foot first, and I always put on my left shoe. So my entire left leg is like put like set before I start on any of my right leg, which is really weird because like most people do socks and then shoes, but I don't know. I started that because my brother's left-handed, and so I kind of, when I was growing up, I saw him as a role model, so I wanted to start, and now that's kind of a little thing. And then for pre-exams, every morning before I start studying or before the test, I take a line of salt and I lick it off of the back of my hand. So when I was in grade 10, I had a friend, and we were in pre-calc 12 together. And yeah, and she one day couldn't like wake up and she was just feeling really stressed. And so she took a shot of salt pretty much. And I was like, if you do it, I do it. And now pretty much before every single like big exam, I eat salt.
Yeah. I feel like your rituals are very peculiar, but I like how you talk about how they both come from like a role model in your life, whereas someone else that you probably look up to, because I think those are nice ways, and you like create like you create unique rituals that I think no one else really does except for probably that one friend of yours. But yeah, that's super cool of you to share. So has participating in your sport shaped your perspective on academics and personal growth?
Yeah, I think participating in a sport, especially a team sport, has like given me a lot of characteristics that I probably wouldn't have had if I didn't participate in it. Like I'm a lot more team based now because I do play soccer, which is a team sport. It's also taught me like work ethic, where like sometimes people are more talented and you can't see that as a disadvantage. You just have to work harder than those people. But like on the bad side, I am very competitive now, and like I think sports culture is a lot of comparing yourself to other people, and so I think that like comes into play when I do academics and like college acceptances, where it's kind of hard to keep your motivation up because you're comparing yourself with so many people. But it's good to stay like self-focused in these times.
I really agree with what you said there. And you kind of talked about like your competitiveness and how it's grown because of your sport. Do you like think being competitive is more of a strength than a weakness?
I think it gives you a lot more drive than people who aren't as competitive. But it can be seen as a weakness because competitiveness, I believe, is more of an emotional aspect where you try and be better than other people, which like, it's not a very likable aspect of someone if you're always trying to compete with other people. Yeah. So it's good to, I don't know, it's good to be competitive to give yourself drive, but it's not good to be competitive to compare yourself with other people, because you will never make friends.
Yeah. So I guess you talk a lot about like your relationship with other people and like your friends. So have any of your teammates, coaches, or potentially teachers in school played a role in helping you succeed? And if so, can you like share a memorable example?
Yeah, so my coach right now has been a huge role model in my life. When I first started playing soccer, I was not as good as I am right now, obviously, but the level I play in Metro, it does like include tryouts and stuff every year. So when everyone who was quote unquote good at the time moved up to Metro, I actually never did. And I had to try out for the team 3 times before I made it on. And I think that it broke my heart, but it also taught me failure. And when I first met this coach, the guy is very, like, non-emotional, and he's very scary. Like, he has this aura where it's like you don't ever want to talk to him because he literally just shows no emotion. He doesn't smile. He doesn't like make jokes. He's just there to get work done. But as I grown closer, I started going to team lifts. And sometimes like a lot of my teammates wouldn't show up and it would just be me and him, and that's how I kind of got close with him on a personal level. I think in the I'm Chinese. I think in the Asian community, it's very often you see like parents who don't necessarily believe in burnout, or who don't necessarily believe in like emotional stress or mental illness. And so I didn't really have, like, at the time I had the pressure to perform in the sport, and I also had the pressure to perform in, like, academics, where my parents were, like, expecting me to get super good grades and stuff, and I didn't really have an outlet. So a lot of the times when I did talk to my coach, it was about academics and it was about family, and he was a great way for me to, like, talk about my emotions so I wouldn't have to get it, like, all pent up, because that's never good. And yeah, overall, he's just been a really good role model, just because he also has a bunch of rituals, and he also follows a very strict routine, and he's a very healthy person, but he knows, like, and understands how I feel a lot of the time, as he went through sort of the same background and stuff.
Yeah, it's great to see that you have someone there for you that you can, like, talk to about, like, not only your athletic career but also everything else in your life that's going on. And you talked a bit about like failures and how you had to try out many times, as well as just being really committed even when you got in, like showing up to practices that people even missed themselves. So like how did you kind of have that drive in your mind to continue doing the sport when you didn't have even other friends or people who were doing as much as you were?
I think comparing myself to other people sort of brought me that drive, because it's like just a stereotype where like Asian people aren't necessarily good at these types of sports, if you know what I mean. Like, obviously there's a rare moment where someone is amazing at something, but I just feel like our bodies weren't necessarily built to run fast, or our bodies weren't necessarily built to like be physical in an environment. So comparing myself and seeing people not work as hard as me but be better than me sort of like showed me like what failure looked like, and I was like, ooh, I actually don't want to be a failure. So I started going to practice, and I was really committed, just because I wanted to prove myself, like, just because you have the talent and I don't doesn't mean I can't work just as hard and gain that talent back. So yeah.
Wow, that's a very nice like mindset to have, because I think many people would falter in that environment where they see that other people are like much better than them. But I think you had a very positive mindset, and turning it into like turning it into confidence and commitment is a very good thing to have in like your life. So do you have any advice you would give to other high school students who also juggle multiple commitments? Because I think being a student athlete is quite common for many people nowadays, just because a lot of parents put their child in sports very early on. So do you have any advice for anyone?
I think just know your limits, and put your health first. Like, never put your health on the line just to perform, and never put your health on the line just to be good at academics. I think you need to know when to stop, especially if it's affecting your mental well-being or your physical well-being. There are times to push, and you need to know when you can push and when you can't, because at the end of the day, it's your life, and your life matters more than any other performance. So yeah. Also, if you're getting into the recruiting process, I would recommend to start early, because that's one of the major regrets, where I thought I didn't have to send emails to coaches in grade 10 because not many people were doing it. But if you start early, you will not regret it.
Yeah, I think definitely for recruiting, earlier is much better, because then they'll notice you much early on and see your progress. So you talked about that you're also in the recruitment process right now. So do you think the balance that you have right now will change in post-secondary?
Um, yes and no. I haven't necessarily decided if I want to go into like varsity sports and post-secondary. I just I don't know what schools I would go into currently, but I think it's still important to have this sport in my life because it's a way to get like academic stress out of me and pent up like emotional stress. So I definitely won't be quitting the sport anytime soon. However, I do not know if I will be playing varsity, so it might be a lot easier for me to balance because there won't be as many practices, there won't be as many lifts, and I can focus on my academics while still like enjoying the sport and not quitting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of things are not like set in stone right now, and just like even like having the choice of potentially playing varsity in college is like very good to have, I think, because I think having a sport in your life, like long term wise, is like not only good for like mental health, but also like physically, just being able to like stay fit and stuff is very nice. So like look having a more future outlook now, do you think many of the skills you've gained as a student athlete will benefit you later on in like maybe future careers or life goals? Because I think you talked about skills like commitment and having the confidence. So do you think it will help you later on?
Yeah, of course. I think it's also taught me a lot about time management where you have to learn how to balance things because once you make a commitment, it's not like you can just back out. So when you do make a commitment to something, you have to show up, even if you have other stresses or other things going on. Of course, it's okay to call in sick a couple of days a year, but if you are committed to something, you have to show up. And being committed to two things, both academically, athletically, and even my work life and social life, it's important to have a balance where I also have time for myself and time for me just to think about other things rather than always just work, work, work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, thank you for so much for sharing that and all of the other advice that you gave for many student athletes back at home as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Sophie, for coming onto the podcast today. I had a great time talking with you, and I'm sure that a lot of the listeners at home also will enjoy the words that you have and also the advice you have. I think it's very relatable for many.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.